Uh, we'll start with the easy one. We're gonna Shay already acknowledged this. We're gonna start with this one. Because this one actually, like, I saw this and I legitimately think this one is also a psyop. I genuinely because I saw the account that was making this thing. So we're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at the thing. The original tweet that this whole thing was quote tweeting. I think the person privated. Yeah. So we can't actually go all the way back and get all of the context, but just for the purposes of looking at this. Reminder to everyone to not harass anyone that ever appears on my screen. Don't engage. We are looking. We are observing from afar. There will be no engagement, no harassment. So let's take a look. So this is the one that I saw. I really don't care. I'm T for T with every relationship in my life. Don't bring your possibly bi but still cisgendered boyfriend or friend or family member around me or my people during queer events. It's simple. Like, Pride is more than just being lesbian or bi or gay. This movement was built off the backs of trans queers. I'm not saying everyone in the LGBTQ plus community has to be trans, but why would I want people's cis boyfriends around me? So this was the one. This was the one that I saw getting in on the discourse. I need you to know that this is a psyop. I need you to know that this is a psyop. Every single person in the comments, by the way, was like questioning this person, and every single time they would have their words repeated back to them, and they would be, I didn't say that. And I checked their profile. If you go onto their profile, this person is just like this person is just doing like the Jai thing. Of like the only people that matter are black trans people. Which I don't know if I have to explain why it's a psyop or jorbiter. Why did you just say the same word twice, Naomi? Those are the same thing. I don't even think there's a semantic difference. I think jorbiter and psyop mean the exact same thing. Yeah, it's the same image. We're just gonna briefly address this. Yeah, your cis boyfriend can go to Pride. I don't care. I'm sorry. If Bank of America can be at Pride, so can your cis boyfriend. Like, you all know that Pride is, like, at this point, a corporate event. Like, it's a parade, right? Like we're not talking about like this isn't Stonewall. Like, this is a parade. I don't want to give this. I don't want to engage. I don't want to engage. Also, y'all do realize that, like, the person's hypothetical cis bi boyfriend could also be a closeted trans woman. You don't know that. And it still may not be safe for them to be, like, out and proud at Pride, but they may still want to go. I literally avoided going to Pride until like a year and a half after I started transitioning, because I was closeted and didn't think that I should be there because of shit like this. They can also be prior pain, but that is the thread, Matt Hermit. That is the thread of this entire segment here, is that we're talking about biphobia, because I actually think that this tweet is based in internalized biphobia. I'm not even sure if I can call it internalized. I think it might just be biphobia. Yeah, it's purity testing people's sexuality, but also, like, can we stop gatekeeping in the queer community? Can we just stop? You are entirely correct The tweet is so close to rhetoric about women's only spaces. Yeah, no, it's literally like if you just change the framing, it would just be turf rhetoric. I know a mostly closeted NB person that doesn't go because of stuff like this. Yeah, like I didn't go for years because I felt like because of shit like this, because of people telling me that I wasn't welcome there, even though I was closeted as shit. How many eggs could have cracked sooner if we stopped telling people that their bi boyfriends can't come to Pride? I'm glad you said that, NetSpace. We're gonna get into that. At least 900 eggs. Starm, they literally do make the argument that allies don't belong at Pride. It's just segregation rhetoric, by the way. Like, this is one step away from like segregation of queer and cis people. Yeah, separate but equal Pride. That's the solution. Separate but equal. Don't clip that out of context, please. Let's move on. Let's move to the next one because I don't want to give the impression that this should be taken all that seriously. The other one that I wanted to talk about, this one, because I had a little bit of a Twitter spat a few weeks ago over this article. Interviewed people about their experiences with the pansexual label. This was published in March 9th, 2021. I don't know why it became relevant today, but it did. We're not reading the article. Actually, I'm going to read one part of the article, but we're not reading the article because, again, I don't want this person to get the impression that I think that their words are serious enough to actually give them any credibility by like owning them in the marketplace of ideas directly. I had this little bit of a Twitter spat with somebody because this article was shared, and the tweet surrounding it seemed to me to be implying that to be pan is to be biphobic. And I don't know if I need to explain why is not correct, but I can. And I obviously did not take to this framing well. For full disclosure, I am pansexual. So I will admit to coming from a bit of a bias there as somebody who is pan. I might, be a little bit defensive when it comes to people making claims about my own identity. But, oh, it's actually worse than the pan lesbian discourse all over again, Christy. It's actually worse. Hide the cookware of Saige ever visits the house. True. So I want to open up with this because so I saw this being shared, and I obviously did not like the framing that being pan is to be biphobic, like inherently. And the argument that I had over this on Twitter was whether or not that's what the article was saying. Both of us didn't actually read the article because after this whole thing ended, I actually opened up the article that you see before us. This one right here. I would like to read the first line. Despite the plethora of evidence suggesting otherwise, quite a few people continue to argue that the pansexual label has not harmed people or interfered with other identities, or that even if it has in the past, it's largely behind us now. Now, I understand that the second sentence does say, I'm not arguing that the label is inherently perilous, especially since it has multiple contexts unrelated to sexual orientation. The aforementioned insistence is simply false. But then I actually did read the rest of the article, and it actually does just that. I'm not going to get this article legitimacy by reading the whole thing. You can read it if you want to. It's perfectly fine. Correct. They are implying it. Now, would you like to know what their evidence is of this, by the way? The evidence is that they talked to a bunch of like 18-year-old trans women who said that like they were pressured by a cis pansexual person into being pan because it was bad to be lesbian or something. I don't know. Like, fuck. Okay, because I'm about to go on the defense of bisexuals in a second because of the other part of the segment that I want to do. I'm about to go on the defense of bisexuals, but before I do, I fucking need salty bisexuals who are mad at pansexual people to fucking stop, because it really, really does make me want to just be biphobic for a second as a treat, because I feel like I'm owed it after reading that sentence. That said, we have to talk about the bipan discourse, because all of this hinges on a long-running discussion over the definition of bisexual and the definition of pansexual and the utility of those definitions and how people experience their sexuality. Now, I do not want to make the claim that there are not shitty pansexual people that treat bi people as like the lesser multiple gender fucker. There absolutely are. And I also don't want to make the claim that there aren't pansexual people that have like misconceptions about bisexuals, because there is a misconception about like what it means to be bisexual. Because people do believe that bi people won't be attracted to trans people or non-binary people or yada, yada, yada. But that said, I feel like this gets blown out of proportion. And as was hinted a second ago in chat, I also think this one is a psyop. Like, I legitimately believe that this is just a distraction. Because I don't know if I even like know a person that knows a person that knows a person that knows a person. I don't know if like I can find like a connection like 14 like people down on the connection list that knows anyone who fits this description. And the fact is, I'm going to take a pretty like specific stance on this. There is a meaningful distinction between bisexual and pansexual, like as a label and as a definition. I do believe that. There is a meaningful distinction between these terms. Bisexuality being kind of more like an umbrella term, because to me, I see like pansexual and other labels as kind of being more specific in that realm. However, that's just kind of like the way I look at things. It doesn't really matter if it is. The point is that bi and pan do mean different things. And people are going to get mad at me for this, for saying this. But there is a difference. There is a distinction. And I'm not like saying that a bisexual person can't date like non-binary people or won't date trans people or whatever. But people hear that there's the distinction between bi and pan, and they think that's what we're saying. And what I'm saying is, the definition of bisexual is somebody who is attracted to more than one gender. And the definition of pansexual is somebody who is attracted to all genders, and gender doesn't really play a role in the attraction. And I think there is a distinction between those two things. Because to me, there is something about the gender that matters in the definition of bisexual. Like, even if it like only matters a little bit, it can matter to a degree, but it still matters. And that's where the distinction lies. And I'm just going to say this. Like, you can say that I'm being invalidating, but if you're somebody who like, you can say that I'm being invalidating, but if like you're the type of I know people who are like this, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like I will see people who will be like, they will just tell me that their sexuality is that they really don't care about gender that much, and they're just attracted to people based on like vibes and aesthetic, and just like they're just kind of attracted just based on the person, like arts not parts, and then they will call themselves bisexual. Honey, you're pan. I'm going to temper that by saying that I am the type of person I said earlier, I am pan, right? I'm pansexual. Depending on the space that I'm in, I might use the word bisexual. Like if it's easier to just use that, depending on like the type of people around. However, there is a layer to which like that only goes so far. Like if I'm in a room that is sufficiently anti-queer friendly, it actually doesn't matter if I say bi or pan because they're still going to probably want me dead anyway. So at that point, like I don't care. But like if I'm talking to somebody who like might still be learning some shit, like I might use the word bisexual as shorthand. And I think that's fine. There is a meaningful distinction between the two terms though. I use pan because I can't pinpoint exactly what attracts me to a person, so I feel pan fits me better. I mean, I think that's valid. I think that like probably fits within the definition of pan. And if like these things are fluid, by the way, like it could be like there is a possibility you could like figure that out and like figure out what causes your attraction, and then maybe your label shifts. Like that's fine. There's no harm, no foul, by the way. Like I'm not going to be mad if somebody identifies as pan and then later doesn't identify as pan because like something shifts and like they find a definition that just like makes them like feels better to them. Like it's fine. It really is. Now, with that said, with the bi versus pan conflict, as it were, the psyop here, being addressed, I do want to go over the flip side of this because I am about to defend bisexuals because we are gonna talk about straight passing discourse. I'm sorry. I hate to do it to you. I had to go through it, but so I'm making it all your problem too. We have to do straight passing discourse. I'm not doing I'm not doing like passing discourse for trans people beyond how it's going to relate to this. But we do have to do straight passing discourse for bi people. Yeah, passing discourse bisexuality edition. So a lot of people keep doing the bi people have privilege thing because they can be in a straight relationship and pass as straight. And I'm just going so okay. I'm being a little facetious. Let me steel man the argument, okay? I'm gonna steel man the argument. We're going to make sure that we're actually engaging with this, okay, fairly, so nobody can say that like I'm not, being fair. So the argument would be that bisexual people, and by extension pansexual people as well, have a level of privilege within the queer community that other members of the queer community do not have, because if push comes to shove, it is possible for them to basically be in a straight relationship and pass as straight. And in doing so, they shield themselves from the effects of homophobia. That is basically the argument. Now, there is a reason why I disagree with this argument. What's their definition of a straight relationship, though? It actually really doesn't matter. And the reason why is, I'm sorry to break it to you all, every member of the queer community is capable of doing this. All of us are. If you break it down enough, like passing discourse can go to every single member of the queer community, because a gay person can just stop dating men. Like the fact of the matter is you're not dating everyone all the time. Nobody is always in a relationship. every member of the queer community is able to pass because they can just closet themselves. Like a trans person can stop transitioning, or if a trans person who's like fully transitioned is like passes for cis enough, like they could just be in a straight relationship or not date anyone. The crazy things is that gay men and lesbians have often done this. Yeah. If you're like trans and closeted and you've not transitioned, you can be cis passing. If you're like poly, you can just stop dating multiple people. If you're like bi or pan, you can date the opposite sex and be in a straight relationship or stop dating people. If you're a lesbian, like everyone can do this. This is not a unique superpower of bi and pan people. Okay, so let's be fair, okay? I know what the rebuttal would be, right? It's not that no one is capable of doing this, but that bi and pan people have a unique ability to still engage with their sexuality in a way that doesn't violate their ability to engage with it safely, that gay men and lesbians don't have. You know, a gay man and a lesbian could get into a relationship with a member of the opposite sex in order to make it, you know, in order to shield themselves so that way they don't face as much homophobia, but it still is them engaging in their sexuality in a way that is antithetical to what their sexuality actually is. It is active harm. Whereas a bisexual and pansexual, because they have more options, due to their level of attraction, you know, don't have that problem. And as much as I want to half concede that point, I can only half concede because it's technically correct. It's technically correct, but it's not actually correct. And this is where my main argument, this is where my main thesis for this is going to come in. Closeting yourself is not a privilege. It is, in fact, a function of homophobia and transphobia. It is actually a function of marginalization to have to hide yourself in order to remain safely on this planet. Like that is why I disagree with this take. It's not because it is like incorrect in like the technical way. Obviously, as a pansexual person, I could just be in a relationship with a man. I could have one partner, and then I could shield myself from whatever. But having to do that, being put in the position of doing that, is not a privilege. It's actually a function of the marginalization at work. And this is why passing discourse is always so fucking infuriating, because when you take this to its like extreme to other parts of the queer community, take trans people, for instance. Let's use me as an example. People tell me that I pass, so I'm just going to be a little bit like self-aggrandizing here and just assume that I pass. People tell me that I pass, and you know, as I've talked about right now, like before, you know, I've had bottom surgery. I just recently had FFS. Top surgery will be a thing eventually. You know, as far as like my gender presentation, I fall pretty femme as far as like on that like edge of the spectrum. And so to some level, right, there is that function of like, I pass, right? So do I experience the same level or the same like the same issues of transphobia as, say, somebody who passes less than me? Yes and no. It depends. It depends on where you're at. I've told this story before, but the area in which I live in is a fairly like very, very like red area. And like very, very not trans friendly. And the more like liberal area around me that I often visit has the more liberal area that I often visit has a lot more visible of a trans community, right? And so I have noticed a phenomenon where I actually get more misgendering and transphobia in the liberal city than I do in the really red area. Now, why do you think that is? My pet theory with it is because of visibility. Like, the area that I live in, the state that I live in, is not friendly to trans people. So people who are in the vicinity of a more visible trans community are going to be able to tell a lot more. They're going to be able to engage in transphobia correctly, in the sense of like targeting somebody who's trans more often. I pass better where I'm at, is what I'm getting at. But there's also the aspect that like, just because I pass, I can go to the grocery store and maybe I get treated like a woman, right? If my state bans trans healthcare, I'm still fucked. Like, I didn't win at transitioning just because I got bottom surgery. I still deal with things where like institutional transphobia still affects me. So no amount of passing is going to actually solve that. Like, I need to make this clear, right? I need to make this clear. As much as I get where people are coming from on this, the straight passing discourse to me falls on its face because it fails to acknowledge how institutional the marginalization of the queer community is. Yeah, exactly, Storm. So to recap, just to kind of like recap and cap this segment off. Should kink be at Pride? Who cares? Are pan people inherently biphobic? Fuck off. Is there a meaningful distinction between bi and pan? Yes. And also fuck off with the straight passing discourse. All of it can go in a fire. That's my recap. So anyway, yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I think this is a good place to end the segment. Yeah. We'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support my work further, consider becoming a channel member, a patron on Patreon, or donating through my Ko-fi or my GoFundMe for gender-affirming surgeries. Any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.